And welcome to our March 29, 2021 City Council meeting. I should say also welcome to our City Council members that are here and Grand Irons and our ladies that work in the front office. It's good to see everybody. Let me say first, I realize this is later in the month for our meeting. I'm the reason for that, and I apologize for that, but we'll pull everything together here and see if we can't get the city's business done tonight. It's good to see everybody, and hope everybody out there is safe and well. If you'll bow with me, we'll have a word of prayer before we go any further. Our Father in heaven, we're thankful for this day and for the opportunity to gather here. Lord, we're thankful for the people that commit themselves to public service. We pray that you'll bless them and their families, Lord. We pray that you'll continue to bless this community. We pray that you'll bless those out there that are sick in the hospitals and have lost loved ones. Been several mentioned here today. We pray that you'll continue to be with them and go with us and forgive us of our many sins. Amen. We have a set of minutes from way back on February 25th, and we need to approve or modify or do something with those before we go any further. Any comments on the minutes? Any motions on the minutes?
I make a motion to approve. I'll second.
Got a motion by Hal Roberts, second by Jim Mahoney. Any discussion, comments, questions, additions, deletions, modifications? Don't care, whatever? Okay. All in favor say aye. Aye. Okay. Any opposed? All right. We have about 3 items of public business tonight. A couple of them will move quickly, and then Brian Howard is going to join us to talk about the proposal from Round Lake Church for the Mother's Day out oil change or whatever they call that. First of all, let me say Jim Amaro, who would be here with us tonight if it was open to the public, we have a yard sale. I think that you're having cards passed around. April 17th is the date of the spring mile-long yard sale, so don't forget that. Jim would tell you a lot more about it, but we all know what happens on that day. And traffic here is like a UT football game, or at least like it used to be when people went to the games. So I'll just do that for Jim. John Jewell has asked, the community is starting back up the Jazz Festival. Many of you will remember several years ago we had a very good jazz festival here that got to the point of where it went for 2 days. We had performers like Boots Randolph and Wynton Marsalis, and a pretty good lineup of people. And of course, the local Vantries family is always good. But there's a group of people that are putting that back together, and the date for this year's Jazz Festival would be Saturday, July 17th. They need permission to use the square. They will block it off the traditional way, the way they used to do it, all the way down to the Mexican restaurant and all the way around. There'll be 2 stages starting around 2 o'clock with the last event going on stage at 9 o'clock. They will block off the square around noon on Saturday, which will get us past the bank closing and that type of thing. They will set up the stages on Friday afternoon. I asked John about 6 o'clock. He said probably 4:30 or 5 because of the people that come out of Nashville. So we'll have plenty of time, I think, to talk to the chamber about this. And hopefully this will go off smoothly without any problems. This at one time, the Jazz Festival and the Mile-Long Yard Sale were the signature events for Watertown. And I can remember nights, and my good friend Sam Hatcher used to estimate the attendance. I can remember it looked like it'd be 5,000, and Sam would say 15, and I'd say 15,000. And I'd say, that's close enough for me, Sam. So we'd have some good crowds here, even people on top of the buildings watching the music. So looking forward to that going back. Got a good group of people working on it. But the request tonight is to close the square on July the 17th at noon, and also to allow them to set up the stages on Friday afternoon at 4:30 or 5 o'clock, usually in front of the library. So I'll recommend that to you.
I definitely will make a motion to approve that. I do have a question or two. I will make a motion to approve that, but I do have a question before. I know we had and it was not the Jazz Festival, but I know we had an issue last time. We had some people setting up on Friday. They came too early. They didn't put their stuff in the right spot. So I guess my question is, who's going to supervise that setup? Is John in charge of that? Because I know John can take care of that. Yeah.
John, I think will. The issue that happened that day, as I recall, they were supposed to set up that early evening, and they set up about 9 or 10
early
that morning.
Okay. Yeah.
So
and it wasn't the Jazz Festival, I don't think.
It was a music festival. It wasn't called jazz
yeah,
then.
okay.
But Katie Smith has joined us. Welcome, Katie. Thank you for joining us. So we have a full house tonight, council-wise.
Sure, and I know John is fully aware of everything, so if he's in charge of this, I'm sure it will go.
I can promise
as
you that
planned.
nobody will work it like John Jewell.
Nobody better. Motion to approve.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, discussion? Everybody understand what we're doing? Okay, all in favor say aye. Did you know what we're doing, Katie? Can you hear
I
me?
don't need to vote unless I can, but I was here late.
Okay. Did you have some questions?
I just don't know what it is. It's fine though. If you don't need my vote, it doesn't matter.
Okay, all right. Well, we like to have it, but we don't want to keep you out. Okay, let me move on then, and I had this under old business, so let's go ahead and do this now. Brian Howard of Round Lake Baptist Church has joined us with the program that we talked about back in February, but there were some questions. Brian, can you hear me?
I can, yes.
Can you participate? Can everybody hear Brian?
Yes.
Okay. You're shaking your head. Yes, Brian. I'm thinking that's good. It's good.
Can you hear me?
All right, Katie, can you hear? All right, everybody around the table here. All right, Brian, why don't you just make the proposal of what you want to do, and then they can direct questions to you if they have them.
Okay, sure. And if at any point you can't hear me, just let me know, raise your hand. But as we talked last month, I wasn't able to join by like this, so I was just listening on the other end on YouTube. But I was reared in a single mom family with 5 brothers and sisters, and I understand firsthand what it is for single moms to raise a family and struggle to pay the bills, to provide food and shelter and medicine and take care of all the needs that have to be done. So I had a vision to start a single mom oil change ministry, which would include changing oil, checking air pressure and tires, washing windshields, vacuuming out the area where the passengers and the driver sits, just to serve this particular segment of our community, single mothers. So as I was talking with the Chamber of Commerce, since I'm actively involved with the Chamber, I learned that the old City Hall building there, which has a bay, has been vacant for a number of years, and I've approached Mayor here about possibly utilizing that space to conduct the oil changes for these single mothers. And so Mayor mentioned that last month, and I think asked if you had any questions to bring those to this month's meeting, and we can address those. One thing that was mentioned last month was there was some concern that we possibly could alienate some local businesses who do oil changes. So I personally visited all 3 of those shops since last month's meeting and told them about what we're trying to do, what we're trying to accomplish. None of them had any concerns. They felt like it wouldn't impact their business one way or another, that these customers are probably skipping oil changes anyway because they're providing food, diapers, and shelter for their families. So all of them gave us their blessing. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer those questions and just lay it open for your questions.
Mike? Oh, you went real quiet. Let me see. Yeah, it's not me.
I cut my machine off. I'm sorry.
You and me both, right? We're all having the mute, unmute drama. Mr. Howard, do you need electricity to do those things, I would assume?
Well, not to change the oil, but we'll have to have lights, I guess, and maybe heat in the wintertime or some cooling in the summertime. And this is something we would do starting out on a Saturday from like 8 to 2 o'clock twice a month. So it's not something we're going to be doing every day, but a couple times a month we would make this service available to single moms as they register for the service.
Mike, are we in a position that the building can deal with that?
Yeah, I think so. Just in the, excuse me, just in the bay there, I think there's enough room. He'll be able to handle, regular vehicles, SUVs, probably small pickup trucks. We used to park a short fire engine in there, the old one that we had. So I think there's enough room. As far as the lights, I don't have a problem with that. If there's other needs for electricity, perhaps they can set up a generator or something.
Sure.
But let's try it and see how it works. Maybe, if we approve it, try it for a couple of months. Let's see how it's working and what adjustments we might need to make. Will you call it, set a couple of Saturdays from 8
Yes,
to 2?
initially, and it may grow beyond that, but initially that's our goal, is to start out with 2 Saturdays a month. And Mayor, as you and I spoke before, if we find that we're generating and utilizing too much electricity or whatever, we can talk about compensating or reimbursing the city at some rate if we need to do that. Those things we can talk about once we get into it after a couple of months.
Well, and we might have to do that, Brian, but honestly, we provide electricity around the square to some of these events.
Okay.
Kind of as a public service, because it's bringing people into the community. Hopefully people are coming in and shopping and that type of thing. Hopefully the folks that you'll be serving will come in to Watertown, and for the money they're saving on their oil change, maybe they'll buy a meal, maybe they'll spend a little money here. So in my mind, it's worth the investment. Katie's got her hand.
Okay.
I thought that I remembered in all this time we've been talking about cleaning out the city hall that you told me that the power was off. This is why I was asking about power.
Say that again. I didn't hear everything you said, Kate.
I'm checking to see if I'm on mute. Okay, no. I thought that I remembered you saying that the power was off in that building back when we were talking about getting the guys in there to clean out upstairs.
I still didn't hear you.
She thinks you told her previously the electricity did not work at the old city hall building.
I could have told you that. I don't recall saying that or not saying it. So that's something we'll check out and see.
Do we have
Man.
service there is what I'm asking. Do we have electrical service? It's on? The power is on?
It's probably not on there. We can cut it on, but we do have electrical service at the old city hall. Are we paying a bill on it now? April says she thinks that we are. We get a stack of electric bills, probably 20 with all the sewer pumps and
Right.
everything. So frankly, I don't look at it that closely.
I'm sure that there's a lot of electric bills. If we're paying if we already have service there, it seems really straightforward, assuming everything's safe and the stuff that was stored in there the last time I went in there, which is probably, 3 years ago, is out of the way. I think it makes a lot of sense. If we don't already have service on, then it's a different cost profile. Do you know what I mean? And that doesn't mean that I think it's bad. I think it's a good idea to help lift people into a place of prevention instead of reaction to some of the most difficult challenges. Once your car is dead, that puts a lot of trouble in your life. But I guess I was just asking what the cost profile was going to look like for the city.
I will find that out and get that word out to everybody in the next day or two and let you know what's going on with that. I got questions on the left-hand side. I'll start with Hal.
Who's going to monitor this to make sure that people use this that don't need to use it?
Did you hear that question, Brian?
Yes, I did. We are building a web page where people go to register for the service, and we'll have a disclaimer on there that to ask people to confirm that they are, let them know that this is for single moms, which would include widows and spouses of deployed military or servicemen, and that for those who are in the most need, we would just ask them to check and say that they are fitting that profile. If that makes sense. And if they say they are, we trust them that they do. So we're not going to turn anybody away. But it may cost someone to think about it and say, well, you know what, I really don't need to do this. Let me save that spot for someone who is in more desperate need than I am. And so we'll ask them also to submit the information on the vehicle so we know what kind of oil to get. And if they need a headlight change, we'll know what kind of headlight to get, that kind of stuff. So they will provide us initial information like that when they make a reservation. And so that's how we're going to track that. Will we be taken advantage of? Probably, but that's okay. I think most people will have enough integrity to make the right decision. And if they don't, then that's between them and God, not me.
I just felt like that, it could be used the wrong way. It's great if it's not, but it's some people's gonna take advantage of it if they can. And
You're probably right about that, but
Hey,
we're going to do
Brian.
our best to try to wean
Brian,
those out.
I have a
Yes.
question. Can you hear me?
Sure.
First off, I think this is a very admirable thing, and I appreciate you doing this. Is this service going to be just for Watertown area only, or are you going to open this up to Wilson County, possibly Alexandria area?
We're going to try to keep it within the Watertown area, a little outside the city limits, possibly, to start with, to see what kind of impact it's going to have, because it could be so overwhelming we could never meet the need if we go all the way out into Wilson County or even into Alexandria. So we're going to monitor it as we do this for 2, 3, 4 months and see what the response is, and then we can make an evaluation on what we need to do next. And if we need to go up to every weekend, we're certainly willing to do that. If it becomes too much for just our church people to volunteer, I have relationships with other churches in town, and we'll utilize some resources from other churches as well. It's not just necessarily a round lick thing, although we are the ones wanting to start it. But if it grows beyond us, then we'll involve other churches as well.
Awesome, thank you.
Jim, you had a question.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I have a question about the city's liability with announcement. Would TML cover that, or?
No, they won't cover, they'll cover us, of course, but we'll need some kind of documentation from you, Brian, that y'all are responsible for liability or that type of thing.
And I'd be happy, if you have a city attorney that we can talk to, I'll be happy to work with them to get you what you need.
I'll put you in touch with him. And when do you want to start this?
I'd like to start it the first Saturday in June.
Okay.
If possible. If possible, it's flexible, but that's what I'd like to, that's our goal.
Okay. Katie, you had a question?
What about train days?
I'm sorry, training?
Train days. So
Oh, train days.
presumably you'll organize around those dates where there are events.
Yeah, we will do that. I've met with the Chamber of Commerce, got tremendous support from the members of the chamber, and they are very eager to partner with us and to serve these customers while they're on the square and waiting for their oil change to be done. But quite frankly, I haven't thought about the trains, but yes, they come in on Saturday. So, but they typically come in at 2 o'clock or later, right?
No,
No,
right
okay.
around lunchtime.
All right, so we'll work that out with the chamber and make sure we're not conflicting.
Great.
Katie,
I
how
think-
far?
I think it would
Katie,
be.
how far-
Go ahead. Oh, Brandon. Yeah.
How far in advance is the train schedule put out?
Long time, at least 6 months.
So it's
it's
already posted right now for the next several months.
Until Christmas.
Yes, through this year, I think this entire year is already
Maybe
posted.
we can to that schedule.
Yeah. He said he's talking to the
Yeah.
chamber, so they should.
Yeah, I have it. And the matter of fact, the chamber has a meeting tomorrow, so I'll ask them specifically to work with me on that schedule.
It's not really that many days.
You get all your questions answered?
And some of the
That's fine.
trains are in the evening, but it would be a mess. if
Yes,
They
it
happen
would.
at the same time.
You're exactly right. That was a good question. I appreciate you asking it.
Brian, my thought would be, I too think it's a good program and can be a great public service. My thought would be if we approve it, if you start in the first Saturday in June or thereabouts, to ask you to come back maybe in 90 days and report us how it's going.
Absolutely.
And maybe in the September meeting to do that. We want to cooperate with you. We appreciate you and your folks taking the lead on this. It's what makes a small town a great place to live in. And we want to help you as best we can. Of course, we have to be concerned about liability, so I'll hook you up with the city attorney on that. Most likely what he'll say is on your liability insurance to add the city of Watertown as an additional insured in
Okay.
case something happens.
Yes. Okay. No problem. I'll be happy to.
All right.
Mike?
Katie, yes.
I want to, I don't know if this is a separate question or a has to be addressed now question, but I think this is a great program and I hope that's clear. If we open the city building, a lot of people have asked permission to use that building and for things to aid the community. If we open it for this program, what else comes calling?
Well, we could take it on a case-by-case basis, but frankly, there are parts of that building, if he asked to use, I would have to say no. The part of the building that he has chosen has really been set up to do that all along. It was the home of the first ambulance that we had here when we had volunteer drivers back in the 70s. And so it's been set up for that. That part of the building that's to the immediate left or right as you stand in there is in terrible shape. So I think as long as they limit there, we'll be okay. But back to your question, if we get an individual request, I'll be glad to consider that.
Are you ready for a motion?
I am, if y'all are. You want to
I
make
am.
it?
Yeah, I move that we approve that use of the city building pending being able to manage the liability question and also assuming there's electric there or we can have a follow-up email to discuss if
I'll
there's
do
not.
that. Okay, is there a second to that motion? Have a second from Laura Cromer. Any discussion, further questions? I appreciate Brian joining us tonight. This is the easiest way to get to shouldn't say the bottom, but really the bottom of the proposal. So any other comments, questions? All right, hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? It's unanimous, my friend.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
I'll hook you up with the city attorney and I'll find out the electric question.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you for joining us, Brian. Okay, that is all the public business that I had tonight. Is there anybody out there, Grant, that's asking to address us? Okay. We got some reports here like we always have. Had Dale Smith been here, it would have been his night to go first. You've got the sewer report that said it was for March 16, but checked. Apparently there's nothing else going on. I will tell you that y'all know what kind of rain we had Saturday night and Sunday morning, and our system surcharged, obviously. If you went down Commerce Avenue, you saw the water coming out of the top of the manhole. I will tell you also, to join in with that, that I let Steve Jones of Water Services today know the reason I had not been in contact with him for 3 or 4 weeks, and I would be back in touch with him on the sewer project. And I'll try to tie potentially some things together here under new business for you. But does anybody have any questions about the sewer report? Okay, next would have been the fire report. It is for February. The numbers you have now are now, as you know, 29 days old. But Blake, Chief Hahn provided this. I will tell you, Thursday night during the storm and during the siren going off, I called Blake, and he said that they had men over here staffing the fire department. Everything was going well. And they even had some townspeople come over and felt safer there than they did at home. So that worked out well. And I didn't hear anything else from him the rest of the night. I checked with him again today, got out and rode around a little bit Sunday morning, did not see any problems. We obviously had the water standing in the areas where it always stands when we get 3 or 4 inches of rain at one time. I think hearing what Lisa had seen, she and her husband at Lebanon, and talking to some of the folks from Mount Juliet, I don't think we had as much water as they had, and I think we were very fortunate. There's spots in town that just can't handle a lot of water, and there's not much we can do about that. Okay, and then I have a police report here for you. I will tell you, I checked with our police hierarchy today, and our 2 gentlemen at the academy have graduated. They successfully completed the program. So their raise will go into effect, and we now have probably more certified officers working for this department than ever before. And I feel like that's a great improvement as we continue to become more professional in our city. Any questions about that? Okay, got some items of old business. Brian, of course, has already dealt with the oil change ministry. We have 3 ordinances that we passed on first reading in February 25th. The first one is 2021-01. It is the money we received from the state of Tennessee as a direct appropriation for COVID, $63,434. We've already gotten that money, and this budget amendment or budget ordinance will reflect that so that the budget can be modified for this year. So I recommend this to you on second and final reading.
Motion to approve.
Did you second, Hal? Yes. All right. Have a motion and a second. Are there questions? All right, hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? It's unanimous. Let me sign this as I go. Okay, the second one is ordinance 2021-02. It is where we got $5,000 from the Tennessee Highway Safety Office as a grant, and we placed that money, $2,500 into wages in the police department, $2,500 into machinery and equipment parts. So I recommend that to you on second reading.
Motion to approve.
Discussion? Second. Okay, discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Okay, it's unanimous. That one is approved on second and final reading. Okay, and the last one that we're dealing with on second reading is 2021-03. It is the remaining money that we got under the CARES Act. In addition to the $63,000, we got another $22,698.89. and we use that for reimbursement of expenses in the police department for salaries. That doesn't mean they got any more money, it just means it helps to pay the bills. So I'll recommend that to you on second and final reading.
Can I ask a question?
Yes,
Is that, I mean, were there spending guidelines on that money or?
there was not, as I recall, Katie, on the first 63,000, there was on the 22, and the police department salaries met that.
Okay, move to approve.
Good questions. Further comments, questions? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, it's unanimous. Okay, got some items of new business, and I said I'd circle back to this. And I don't have a lot of information, but I have enough to get me a little excited. And that is the plan that's just been passed by Congress within the last 2 weeks. I have been told unofficially, I've not seen anything official, but I have been told unofficially that the city of Watertown will get $411,000. Now, you also hear that they're trying to push an infrastructure act through there that I assume will be used for public infrastructure. I don't have anything to recommend to you tonight, but I'm trying to think a little bit ahead. It may not work out this way, but my thought would be, once we see what the guidelines are for this $411,000, can we use that money to pave some streets? And maybe the best chance we've had since the late 90s when we did it all at one time. If we go back and we can get the sewer project going, and there may be a street or a half a street or so that'll be paved as a part of that project, then we have $411,000 if that money holds up. And then we have some money put away in the general fund that perhaps we could put another couple of $100,000 with it. It won't pave all the streets, I can tell you. Last estimate I heard was $110,000 a mile. And I think when we paved streets here in 1997, there was 9.8 miles. There's now probably closer to 11. But we could knock out a good chunk of them, certainly get the most heavily traveled areas. The other thing that would require a little bit more thought from me, if everything I say happens to fall into place, is that what does it take to do them all? And would we be in a position where we could borrow the rest of that money and pay it back over the next 10 or 15 years? So I think I see a real possibility coming to do some major street paving, maybe so much as all of it, but I really want to see what this Infrastructure Act does, because if they send some money out for you for specifically for that, we should be able to do them all. So keep that in the back of your mind. Yes, Katie?
In the early days with the sewer project, one of the things we talked about is that we may have to do some road digging for sewer. And then don't we also have infrastructure needs related to water?
We do. We do have needs related to water, but right now, in my mind, the most pressing thing would be streets. But that's just one vote out of 7. But that's
I guess
something
what I'm
to think
saying
about.
is, if there's a lot of under the road stuff that needs done, I would hate to see it mess up the nice newly paved roads later if we have to go back and work on those.
Yeah, I wouldn't be for paving streets until we got that, or at least that street or streets done, until they did the sewer. Yeah, but you raised an interesting question there, Katie, one that I hadn't thought about. This Infrastructure Act that they're debating or going to debate in Congress maybe provides enough money to do both. I don't know. Like on the money I'm talking about here for the $411,000, it sounds great. but the figures I saw, the city of Lebanon and the city of Mount Juliet are gonna get $9.8 million each. The Wilson County is gonna get 28 million. So 411,000 sounds great to us, but I sure wish it was 9.8 million. We could do a lot of things with that, but there's nothing to act on tonight for that. I just wanted you to have that in the
Mr.
back of your
Mayor,
mind.
just for
Yes.
clarification, the 411,000 is part of the Infrastructure Act, or are those two separate things? I just, and I know we're not acting on it, but just
It is part of the American Rescue Plan Act. It's
the
just been approved.
411 that we possibly could get. So there could be an additional infrastructure
That could,
grant, like, okay. Well,
There
that's
could.
wonderful.
yes. It offers the best chance we've had in 20 years to pave streets.
If we do this and do our streets, let's think about buying the equipment to repair our streets instead of throwing some coal mix in there. It'll last 2-3 weeks and it's out, and then we got a bad street again. You know, we can buy a roller, a small one, and put hot mix in and fix it right back the same way it was.
Mike,
We're getting you.
Katie ought to be here, I'm sorry.
Go back, if you don't mind, say what you're saying.
I just think we need to buy the equipment to do the streets that needs to be repaired. We've talked about this a long time ago, and we had a roller, and I think we wound up and sold it, surplus.
Because it wore out.
It was, I don't know what's happened to it, but we need to do that again and fix the street backs like they should be fixed. We have the people to do it with, and I think we can do it.
I'm not talking about our people doing it, Hal. I'm talking about
I
us
know, but
bidding it
the
out.
repair, I'm talking
Yeah.
about a water line going through there.
Oh, yeah,
Instead of throwing
yeah.
hot mix on, cold mix on it and packing it down, fix it right. And then our streets will stay fixed.
I hope to have more for you in the future on that. Those are issues that'll be debated. I hope that I haven't gotten you overly excited about this, but I do think there's some possibilities here. Yes, sir.
Is it possible that we could jointly go with the county again to do the pavement? I know last time
Probably
there were
not.
county, probably not, okay.
I will explore that, but the last time we did that, the cities of Lebanon and Mount Juliet wanted the same deal, and they drew the line. So,
If they would do it like they did Tennessee Boulevard, it'd be great.
yeah,
They fixed that right.
we got it all done that time for a little over $300,000.
Yep.
But that tell you, at that time, $30,000 a mile, so. Okay, good question, Jim. All right, I have another budget amendment for you here tonight. It's on first reading. Over the course of this year, this fiscal year, we have received $159,000, just a few dollars short of $160,000 in fire grants. So when you look at your budget report, it looks like in equipment and repairs, we have spent about 400% over what we should have. We haven't. We've used this fire grant money. So what this does is bring the money into the revenue side and then put it out on the expenditure side so that that line item doesn't get, for lack of a better term, out of whack. So I recommend this to you on first reading.
move to approve.
All right. Is that a second, Katie? Hal, all right. Got a motion from Hal Roberts, a second from Katie Smith. Any discussion on this? You'll see this again in April, by the way. Okay, all in favor say aye. Aye, opposed? Okay. The only other item I have on a new business is your budget report. It is somewhat dated now because it is a February report, but you will look, you can look at your trial balance and see that we have some money put away in 2 out of the 3 accounts. And I will tell you that our revenue and expenditures are tracking very well. So one of the things I've got to be careful about in preparing a budget for this next year is we have so much grant and here's so much CARES Act money. that may not happen next year. So I gotta make sure when you see next year's budget and you look at it and say, well, what happened to all this money? I hope we get it again, but I can't plan on it, so. But anyway, we should have another trial report out, early next week, first to the end of the month, day after tomorrow. We'll get that out to you as well. Some informational items. We have a train this Saturday, I think. Is that what you hear about, Donna?
No, it's about pole banners on the square.
Okay.
There is an Easter train coming.
Yeah, I wish you had joined us remotely because I've told the public they can't attend. Yeah, but that's all right. You're here. Tell us what you got.
I'll make it quick. I really just needed to show you, and I can't remember which entity of the state.
Come on up, Donna.
I'm not supposed to be here, sorry.
Well, it's not that we don't want you here. It's just hard to explain to everybody else why I can't let them in.
So, anyway, for the state, and I can't remember which entity of the state has paid for these, and we already have them along the railroad.
Right?
And so right now, I did not realize that we already have a different angle pole holder on the square. But what I really need is like the one or two of the city workers to work with us for about an hour or two to decide, you know, make better decisions.
We can get that done.
Okay.
When you want to do that?
Next week, the end of next week may not be bad. I'd like to just kind of coordinate with Bobby or Jimmy or whoever.
Just get with Bob. Tell him we
Okay.
voted. You know, we're good with it.
I'll tell him you said so.
Yeah, he'll do it.
Okay, all right, that's all I need.
Thank you for bringing that to us. I hope you didn't take that as me being ugly.
Well, I haven't done it, you know, all this has been in the works for over a year.
I hope we get to reopen soon, but even today there were mixed messages. You know, a lot of people are getting vaccinated, but they also say there may be a fourth wave coming. So we're just going to have to monitor and see what happens. Yes. Thank you. The train is this Saturday, right? We have an Easter train? Okay. And then we have we've already talked about the yard sale.
Oh, yeah, the 17th, April 17th.
Yep, Jim Amaro beat you to it. He's passed out cards and everything. And our next meeting will be April 20th, hopefully. I feel a little uncomfortable saying that because the last two have not exactly gone according to script, but we'll see. All right, let me go around the table here. Hal?
Nothing. I'm good.
All right, Jim? Get your mic.
There was a sewer study that was supposed to be done by the sewer superintendent about the commercial uses of the sewer.
Mm-hmm.
And is that complete yet?
I don't know the answer to that. I hadn't asked him that, so. The industrial user, is that what you're talking about?
Yes, sir.
I'll find that out. I saw him this morning. I didn't think to ask him about it. Did you hear that comment, Katie? Okay. All right. I'll find that out and get that word out too. Anything else?
I'm good.
Laura? Okay. Katie?
Well, I don't have anything on the top of my head. Just give me 1 second. I was gonna raise that issue Donna brought up, but she ran over there and took care of it herself. The trolley. You can hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I had talked to Bob about whether it could be stored, and over the course of the discussion and him looking at it, he's concerned that it would take a lot to move it to storage. And I wonder, is it the city's trolley or the chamber's trolley, or is it both?
The chamber bought it, as I recall, through Jeff Tunks. He made that
Right.
deal driving down the interstate one day.
I remember.
But to get it insured and everything, we had to take title to it. So it's titled to the city of Watertown to get it on our insurance.
I know I'm not attending the chamber meetings now, but I have been very involved for a long time. And I know that in many of the last conversations, the feeling was the trolley can't really be used because it's not appropriate for the people with mobility issues who are the ones we really need to move from the train to the town. And it's clearly struggling parked where it's parked. And I wonder if it would be better for the city to sell it on, release it. Maybe the chamber use the money to buy a golf cart. I know they've rented those before. Something like that. I hate seeing it sit there and fall apart.
I'll be glad you have brought this issue up before, and I haven't been able to follow up on it, but I'll be glad to talk to the chamber about their feelings on it, and then also see, I'll bring it back to y'all and we'll have a good discussion on that.
Okay, and then my other perennial issue is starting to get some of the stuff out of the old city hall and see what
Yeah.
we've got and what we're facing.
I just hadn't had a chance to do anything, but I'll try to do better. But you kind of know where I've been the last few weeks, so. And by the way, thank you very much. I
Good to see
appreciate
you
it.
vertical.
Yeah, it's good to be vertical. I got tired of watching Gunsmoke, and I like Westerns. I'll check on that as well.
And then I'm presuming your comments earlier about the sewer project would involve some kind of an update where we are with all that.
Yeah, and really, he's waiting on me. We've got to get a couple of easements, and I've got to follow. I just started working on that when I got sidetracked. So we've got to get that done because I think the word I hear from Steve is that they're waiting to fund it. So,
Great.
and that will help maybe fit in
Well,
with all
and
these
time's
other things.
passing, so it would be great to get going on that.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
That would be great.
I'll try to get it up, but I think he's waiting on me on that, to be honest with you.
That's it, my whole list.
Okay, Christie? Brandy? I need to report something to y'all. I forgot to put it under new business. And I regret having to do this, but the city charter says that if I have to reprimand or take any type of adverse employee action, I have to report it back to the city council. And I have to report to you that since the date of our last meeting and tonight, I have had to terminate an employee. I had to terminate Eric Morgan. And I regret that I regret that I have to make it public, but the city charter does place that responsibility on the mayor. And so I am doing that tonight to let you know. So we are now have 3 people in our street department. We may, as things pick up, as we get toward the sewer thing, want to put that 4th person back in place. But right now we have 3. And you got anybody, Grant, want to talk to us? Okay, you got anything you need to bring in front of us? Okay, I'll take it as a no. All right, I'm ready for a motion to adjourn if y'all are. Got a motion from Laura and a second from Jim to adjourn. All in favor say aye. And enjoy the rest of your evening.